kiss and hug me. Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you want to be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make.
Hey, you have to hear this. It's you need to, if you have 30 minutes, you just stop what you're doing and listen to this because it's important.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And as with a lot of things, you say this, and I start thinking of these examples that apply. But I did a hangout, kind of a spur of the moment, like training.
Yeah, and I think that's that's everything. I mean, you know, and I think it's subtle, right? Because none of us do this, and it's scripted. So what kind of comes out is what we're sort of thinking and feeling, and it's interesting, you know, from having written copy, right, and even having written video sales letters for myself and for other people, I can always tell when somebody doesn't feel quite right by what they say, because I pay attention, I pay close attention to that stuff, and I'm just thinking, you know what, that guy, he doesn't feel quite good about what he just did because of what he said, and you can always tell, and it comes out in, you know, you can watch somebody who does a video sales letter, and you'll see the words come across, but they'll say something different because here they know it's not quite what they're saying it is, and sometimes they will actually not follow their script, and they will actually say something that kind of indicates doubt. And you can hear it, right? Like you can just hear the words. And I would not have believed it. I would not have believed it until I kind of saw it. Like if you communicate the slightest bit of doubt at the call to action, people aren't going to do. They're going to hesitate. They're going to find something else to do, and they'll go with somebody who is twice as confident about their little bitty whatever it is, that probably is some junk, but they get up there and they just feel like, man, this is just the best thing since sliced bread, and people buy it.
That's a nice word. I was going to say selling crap. And that crap doesn't sound like a very ladylike word, and then you said junk. And yeah, okay, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Confident people, and it could be like 5 times as much money, and yeah, they're going to sell it. I'm probably going to buy it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, my wife and I, we were driving from, I think it was Chicago back to Harrisburg at some point, and it was early on. We just moved out here, and we went back to Chicago, so we were on our way back here, and we stopped at a dealership to see. I don't know why we stopped. To this day, I don't know why we stopped. We had gotten off the interstate, and we were just going to get something to eat. So we said, we're going to stop and see a Geo Metro, right? You remember those incredibly small cars that,
I didn't have one, but I remember, I think my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law both had them. Like, they were driving around.
Right.
Yeah, they're little small.
Exactly, yeah, cheap and get good gas mileage. So I say, let's go see this thing, right? And my wife said, okay, yeah, let's go see it. And I remember the dealer, and I said, you know, we're not here to drive the car. I just want to take a look at it, see what it is, take a look. So I said, so we don't have to waste your time. You know, you don't have to. He said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're not wasting my time. There's nobody else here on the lot. And he said, at some point in the conversation, he said, come in here, because I'm going to sell you a car today. And I'll be doggone. I was
just like
sitting
that? And like, I'm listening.
Yes. He said, I'm going to sell you all a car today. And I'll be doggone, we were not sitting in his office, and he just about had us. If we had been closer to home, I would have left my car. I would have signed papers, and I would have bought that car. And it had everything to do with the fact that I think it was that one line, because that one line stays with me today. And he just looked me in the eye and he said, "Come on, let me sell your car."
But see, Charles, just as obviously stuck in your mind because you just delivered it perfectly, like you could get paid in acting. No, but I mean, you got. Okay, I promise I was listening to everything that you're saying, but you got my attention. Just the way you kind of leaned in and delivered that, I'm like, where's the car? You know?
Well, I mean, that's the way he did. He was for real, and man, it was like, and it's interesting because the other thing is I remember I worked at when I first started first Chicago. The guy who hired me, his name is Joe Webb. I don't know where Joe Webb is today. He said, "Okay, Charles, it's the beginning of your career." And I think I even told you this. He said, "You got to learn how to staff, and you got to learn how to sell." So now you're taking a staff job. He was the guy who hired me. He recruited me to First Chicago. He was my human resources guy. He got me into the second interview, and he was like rah rah all the way, calling me at
He's
home.
a cheerleader, the whole.
Yeah, I mean, it was like real cool. And then when I got the job, he brought me in to sign the papers. He said, "Okay, look, Charles, you got to learn how to staff and you got to learn how to sell." He said most people will take the staff job and try to stay in the staff job, and they don't know why they don't rise. You got to learn how to sell. Do not avoid that. And so I spent the first 5 or 6 years avoiding the sales process, right? Because I didn't want to do that. And that was at the point at which I think a lot of people who came out of college, they said, well, yeah, I'll take it as long as I don't have to sell, right? And I was one of them. And I always
You're
look
really
back.
good at it. You're good at selling.
Well, it's an interesting thing because I don't think it's a long process. We don't have long enough to tell you the process, but it was really my wife. I was content teaching online, right? And that's what I was kind of doing as my side gig when I was at the boarding school. And my wife at some point, she decided she was going to go and do Mary Kay. Right?
Oh, and
why? I don't know.
to
She just said.
clarify,
And-
for anyone that doesn't know, you weren't at the boarding school like you were living there. You were running the boarding school. In case people
Yeah,
are
I
thinking
was-
you're talking about when I was 9 years old and I lived at a boarding school.
Oh, right,
my
right,
life was,
yeah.
I
I was a house
Okay.
parent there. Yeah, and so she decided to, and that was and so at that point I went to a conference with her, and it was an internet marketing conference, and the guy was talking
Wait, it
about.
was Mary Kay, and it was an internet marketing for Mary Kay?
Yeah, so she decided to go and try to help herself do Mary Kay better by going to learn internet marketing. So I went with her, and I sat there and I listened to the guy talk about. He talked about writing articles, and he said one of the ways in which you can make money online, right, is you could write articles. People could put their ads close to your writing, and you can get paid from the ads. And that's where I am even today. That was my attraction. That was my entry into internet marketing. And the whole sales process was, I think it wasn't until maybe a year later, somebody asked me to do a webinar for them. And my wife and I had both been teaching online, right? So she taught at an online institution. I taught at one. And I had for like 2 or 3 years been staring at a computer screen talking, right? So it was, again, on a webinar, right? Some people were petrified about it because it was like they were trying to talk to an inanimate object. But I had already crossed that barrier by having taught online, and
So you're ahead of the game.
I was ahead of the game, right? So,
Yeah.
That was where I
The
learned.
make love to the camera phrase. Okay, maybe that's for porn. I wasn't in porn, I promise. I'm just
Right. But that's what it is. You have to kind of look at this camera, kind of like you have to see the person. You have to like see them, and then and getting on the webinar. That's where the whole sales thing came. So I didn't want to sell 20 years ago. I wish I had to this day. I didn't sell until I learned to get on a webinar and try to actually sell something. And
you kind of learned in the trenches.
I learned exactly in the trenches, and even still, I still didn't learn anything until I actually tried to sell my own information products. Right? That's when I did my first video sales letter was when I think I learned to sell. I don't think I learned to sell before. I had to write my own copy and try to get on a video and try to communicate the copy in a video, right, and do that on purpose, that is when I think I sold on purpose and started paying attention to what I was saying. And that's when I learned about the call to action, because everything else that I said could get wiped out if I said something like, and think hard about this. If it's something that if it's something that you want to do, hey, hit the buy button. Nobody's going to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The minute I say
you want to do,
yeah, or just something as simple as this offer, it's going to be here. It's going to be here for you. And I know people do that, but there's a lot of process that goes into that when people say stuff like that. But you pretty much got to say that if you don't feel strongly enough to say somebody's got to get it now, you probably ought not to be selling it. And because that's the only thing that's going to make people buy now is your confidence. And they got to hear it, and they have to feel it, and then they got to want it too. And they almost have to want it better than you want them to buy it. And if you can't do that some kind of way, I don't know, for whatever the reason, right? I know different people buy for different reasons, but for the most part, 60, 70% of the people are going to buy because of the call to action. 30% will buy for whatever reason, that other reason they have, but 67%.
That's the 99.999% is that call to action. Now, I think the 0.01 or whatever it was like this past week, what is her name? PJ, with a Listapalooza. I signed up for that, and that wasn't a call to action, but that's because we're doing a series in Twitter chat on list building. So
right.
That was a little different. But otherwise, yeah, you're absolutely, what you just described, Charles, is why I click the button and buy. Even when I say I'm not going to, then I do.
I know. Well, yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to think of, I think the last thing that I bought that was over $2,000 was trying to think of it. It was Jeff Walker's product launch formula. It's a couple years back. And
was it worth $2,000? Just curious. Sidebar.
It was worth $2,000.
Cool.
Yeah, it was.
Very cool.
Yeah, and because now, would I buy it today for $2,000? No, because I understand the principles behind. I didn't understand what scarcity meant and what it was to take a sales letter and turn it into a process. Really, what Walker does is he says the sales letter, you turn it into a process. You condense it into a short period of time, and you bring people up to the point, build anticipation, and then you basically take them over the course of the day through what is a sales letter. Right, so you've got to get their attention again. You've got to tell them the story again, get them to understand. You've got to show them the proof that the concept works, then show them that it has worked for other people. So you're making a delineation between proof and social proof, because it's like if those two are not there, it's still going to create doubt in people's mind. It's like so really, and this is another thing, I looked at some of what I've even sold. You have to have that in order to have big sales like barreling over, I think, in my opinion, right? If you got
secret to success, because you said you went through this whole process, but I see that in your sales letters.
Well, yeah, the thing I didn't always have was social proof. Like the best social proof is to have a testimonial that says, I bought this and I got the benefit. Like I bought this and my wife just loves me. I bought this and my kids love me. I bought this and I went on vacation.
My kids
you have
love me. That's a good one.
right. The guys who have that in their sales letters, they don't have to do it. It's going to sell itself. It doesn't matter what it is. People are going to buy it because if the testimonial is real, right? And in general, you either build up enough trust with people that they know they assume you're not lying, and you're selling this to your list, and you've been taking them through this process over the course of days, and then around the third, fourth, or fifth day, or the third or fourth fifth portion of the launch, you've got these people telling their stories, kind of like, well, yeah, man, my back was against the wall, I did this thing, and then like you've got these plain people telling these stories. You have no defense against that. There's no defense against. You have no defense other than to pull out your wallet and buy, because at that point, the product is in your way. You know what I mean? The product is your obstacle. You have to get it at that point, because you're thinking, well, man, this guy is a loser, and all of a sudden he bought this thing, and he did,
He's like,
and he just
the Fonz. Okay, I know that's
right. No, exactly. He moved the dial, and all he did was got this thing. You really, and so those things, but you could torpedo that whole thing, like on the last day, if you say something stupid like, I shouldn't say that. It sounds really negative. You say something like, and I know, right. Yeah, I know you got. I know, it's hard. I know you got things that's going on, and if you gotta think about it, take another day, or it's gonna be here. It's gonna be here for you. Count on people not buying it, but at some point in that last delivery, it's almost like you've got to say, hey, do you remember the story you heard about Jake? And I said, I know you got issues, but if you think you can wait on having that kind of result, I understand that. But if you're ready to kind of take this next step, this process has worked, and it will get you there. So I want to invite you now to come in, and I want you to get started. I want you to come in today and get started right away, so you can get what Jake got. There's no defense against that. I don't care. People will sell their spouse on eBay to get that.
It's working on me. Okay, all right. So all this talk about sales, it sounds to me like this could apply to the list building.
It exactly applies to list building, because it doesn't work without that. That you can do that with your list because you build trust with them, right? Those are the folks you're taking along. Now, obviously, somebody could come in cold to your list, right? Mm-hmm. But the folks who've been traveling this product launch process, and that's one of the things that the guy says, because people, it's amazing. People go and buy a product launch formula anyway, and they say, well, that question is always an FAQ. Do you have to have a list in order to do this? And he's honest with people, and he says, well, you don't have to have a list, right? I teach you how to launch your business so that you can build a list. But this process works basically if you have kind of traveled on at least part of the journey with a group of people, and then you bring them into this really intense period called the product launch, right? So you've got to have some people that you have some kind of like formal sort of sales relationship with. Either they bought a low end product, or they're listening to you, and then you bring them into the like the crucible for the launch. But I think you have to have a list to be able to do that effectively.
So how do people build the list? It sounds like, okay, when I go to different websites, it seems like there's a lot of gimmicks. Now, I don't think, in all sincerity, they're gimmicks. I think probably when people are saying, come sign up for my newsletter and you will learn all the success tips, but it's probably true. And a lot of them that I've signed up for, they really do deliver on that promise. But there's so many out there that it starts to sound like a gimmick after a while.
It is.
So what's the, what is the trick? It used to be 10 years ago, building a list was pretty easy from the aspect. I used to run several of them. I did columns. It was like before anyone even knew about e-zines and stuff. And I was like this e-zine queen, right? That was before corporate. And it was easy because people would look at it and go, wow, this is quality and I can't find it. There weren't blogs or anything, so the information was really scarce. So it was easy to build a list if you had quality. Now it's like, okay, I know you have a quality newsletter, but I get so many newsletters that I just don't feel like signing up. So, Charles, what do you think the trick is as far as really building that and saying you should go for my gimmick over somebody else's gimmick?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's almost like you've got to cheat the process a little bit, and to some degree, you cheat the process by making sure that you put yourself in front of people that you know are buying, right? And I think I talked about this on a previous call that one of the really today, right? To if I were doing it inside of the consulting / internet marketing space, the buyer infiltration method is probably the most effective way, right, to build a semi-cold list. Because, as you said, I think we're sort of blind to the, hey, learn 5 steps to something really basic. I don't think people are kind of feeling that anymore, right? Like, I'm not gonna opt into your list unless it's like I can't do without this. But if I've already bought something and you have a thing that kind of completes that process, and I have to opt in to get it, I'll opt in to get it, right? And I will confirm. I'll go through the whole process. I'll even think about the confirmation process because I want the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so number one, you've kind of qualified the person because they're already a buyer. But number two, you're giving them something that they want, right? And so you can do that on the inside of somebody else's information product, right? Because so a person could be like a presence on the inside of somebody else's thing that they're selling, and they're saying, well, here's what else you need in order to go the next step with what you're buying. Now,
like you did that with my checklist. It was on the inside
correct.
of your Google product.
Correct. Right. And people downloaded it because they felt like, okay, I want this too. It was relevant. They were already Google Hangout interested, mm-hmm. right? And so they said, well, I want the checklist too, right? Some of them may not even say. They just feel like, well, it's something else free that goes with this. I'll use it at some point, but I'll just get on here to get it, and they're mm-hmm. not going to fake that. So that is a qualified list. We know these people spend money on information, right? So
and that's what you buy buyer infiltration, because even if they weren't my customer, they actually gave you money to learn specifically about Google Hangouts, so they were already interested.
Exactly. So that's better than 1,000 people that you're mailing to, right, on various things that we don't know whether or not they're interested, wherever they opted in. But we know these people at some level are interested in Google Hangouts and that they buy stuff. So, mm-hmm. What is 100 of them versus 1,000 people
Cats,
who
puppies, and other non-human entities.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Everything is not even to be compared, because mm-hmm. that list is hot. Right, they're hot for Google Hangouts, and so the rest of the process is then they have to kind of be guided into something that will eventually make them money. But the list building part really is easy because you cheated the process by, number one, finding buyers, and number two, getting them at the point at which they're ripe to opt in. Because I think if they just come to the website and they don't really know you, and they don't really know if they're feeling you or not, they're kind of like, all right, whatever, and not because the person or their information isn't valuable. It's just kind of like they just really don't have an interest yet. So
there's not a connection yet, as far as when you're talking about buyer infiltration. I was thinking I didn't even think of this as a newsletter, but actually I'm a subscriber of TubeTape, TubeTape.com. And it's because I bought something on eBay, And it's like I was just so hungry. I mean, being in the hangout in the video, it's like I just love. Okay, I must need a new light, right? I have to go visit
Right,
Tube Tape to go
right,
get this
right,
or the
right,
software.
right, right,
And
right.
granted, everything I buy is on discount because all of us love to save money. So they said sign up and we'll send you all of our sales on Friday. Well, what happens? I probably buy 5 times as much as what I would if I hadn't signed up.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah, and the only thing that stopped me from being in San Francisco for the real SEO thing
Hmm.
was just I just physically had something to do. I mean, if I could have been there, I would have. And just about anything those guys say to get, I get. And it happened, and I don't think they did it because necessarily because I bought anything, but they had something that at some point I said, well, whatever they have, I have to have it. And I think that's kind of way it's got to kind of be, you know, I don't know if you can build a community. I don't know if you can build a community strictly on social media in order to get people to buy. I don't know that, right? And that's only because I haven't done it yet. I have to test that to see if that's something that can you cultivate a community that wants to buy what you have, right? Because there's so many choices out there. And, you know, a social media community is just that. It's social. I mean, people are looking to interact with each other and do a lot of other stuff. So I have written in blog posts that is sort of a list. I don't know if I believe that now. I still think that email is still it's still the most direct. Is it as effective as it used to be? No. Is it, you know, does it carry the weight that it does? No. But if you carry the weight with the people, email still works, right? So really, I think it is that marriage of, you know, authority, social media, all the other stuff.
Respect.
It's everything.
Like
Right.
The Tyler Perry, there's just something. I'd almost buy anything he's selling just because there's such respect. I love his respect for his mother. I don't know, that maybe it's because of mother, but somehow when that comes out and he talks about the things that he's learned from his mother, he respects people. So it's like, wow, I got to read what Tyler Perry's writing because it just feels it's like motivational, even if if he's talking about a rock.
Right. No, you stop what you're doing, right? And you listen, right? And at this point now, I mean, I talked about it early today. I mean, you know, I talked about Tim Berkwin, like the guy who he's in, you know, he does trader interviews, right?
Like
but
that seems so unlikely, but you had him on your show.
whatever he sells, I'd buy, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm probably one of only 5 people that bought his interview income course, and it's because, right? And I don't know how I found out about it, but I opted in. I had to chase him down and I had to make him buy it. I mean, I'm calling this guy. I'm saying, well, why won't you sell me this product? He said, well, why do I have to sell? You know, why do I have to sell you this? It's not
You're
for
begging
sale.
him for this product.
I said, well, man. He said it's so he said, well, you realize that the product was, I think at that point he said, you realize it's $1,400. I said, man, are you going to sell me this product or what? So I guess he was saying like, man, I thought this guy was going to go away. So he emails me back. He says, if you send me $400 today, I'll give you access. So
Now I'm curious. Was $1,000 off? Was that just because he was so impressed by how hungry?
no,
you were?
he was just trying to get me to buzz off. He didn't want to sell it. And I was saying, man, sell me this product. He said,
You know
give
what I
me
spent
access to it.
all day Sunday doing? Okay, most of the day. I was so hungry for all of your product, Charles, with the retirement sale. I'm like, he's serious. He's going to take this off the net. I've got to download. I'm like, how did I miss this? I didn't download this before. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything on there that I didn't click on.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I had that response from a lot of folks, and you know, for the first time. Now, sometimes it's copy, right? It's kind of like it's coming off the market, but it was kind of like, I mean, I'm pretty sure my email was probably exactly the way I felt. It was kind of like, if you don't get it, you're not going to get it. I mean, it was for real. It's like,
what was it?
I'm
Last day
it.
on Earth. It was pretty descriptive. And I think I talked to you enough, so it was like, no, he's not. This isn't just ad copy. This is literally, it is coming off. I'm talking to Mike, going, oh man, I hope he waits till Monday. I hope he waits till Monday.
Yeah, no, man, it was coming off, and it's interesting because there's one marketer that wanted to buy the rights, and I was kind of like, he said, are you going to take it off? I said, yeah, I'm going to take it off. And so he emailed, he said, why'd you take it down? I said, because I said I was going to take it down.
So you thought it was just copy?
I mean, maybe she did. I mean, and she's got this big following. She gets, X number of sales. I don't care. It was kind of like, it wasn't a gimmick. So I think with a list, I think that the whole thing is when you sort of get people to opt in. Well, getting people to opt in, I think, is really a function of kind of getting in front of them at the point at which they really want something, right? And that they're hot for something, and you sort of got the thing that they're hot for, and they're gonna and because we've all been there, right? Where we're blind to the opt-in form. We just kind of get the thing, and we don't even see the name and email address. We just kind of like we're trying to like get the thing, like, okay, when's the confirmation email coming so I can click the confirmation? When am I going to get the link to the download? And when they don't send it, you're kind of like, you're sending an email to support. Yeah, I went through the process, and you said you're going to send this to me. When am I going to get it? That's the way it's got to be, I think. Now, if you get somebody who's kind of casual, kind of like, well, there's the opt-in form, I don't think they're going to buy anything anyway, right? You could
That's a good point.
Yeah, you got to have those people.
That. You want the people who are hungry.
Exactly, man.
And we will definitely chat again on the next Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah.
Yeah, right on. Bye-bye, everybody.
Don't you wanna kiss and hug me? Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you wanna be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make. Baby, you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me. Until then, I'll remind you again, just say when. Oh yeah, until then, I'll remind you again, just say when. Oh baby, just say when.